Hello, I am Russell and welcome to the tutorial for my compact 3-high Portcullis. First of all, this was built on and for the PC Java edition of Minecraft. If you are on a different edition, please check the list of compatible editions in the description. Anyway, I will be showing how to build both the single and double versions in this tutorial. The dimensions for these designs are identical other than the width, where the single version has a width of 3 blocks and the double version has a width of, you guessed it, 6 blocks. Anyway, as far as the length goes, it's whatever you choose for the gate, which has a minimum of 2 blocks, a maximum of 12, and then plus 4, 1 block on this side and then 3 blocks on this side. For the height, there is a total of 6 blocks for this bottom segment, and that is including the floor block, so you want 5 blocks below whatever your floor is. Then the gate can be up to 8 blocks tall, and that is including this black concrete. And the only reason I have that there is because I prefer not to see piston heads if I happen to look up at the gate itself. That's purely preference, you can have whatever you want there. Finally, the top segment of the gate is 7 blocks, and that is including this piston head. But yeah, if you want to get a closer look at the design before building it, there is a world download in the description. Without further ado, there is a timestamp in the description to skip forward to the double version. Otherwise, let's get started on the single version. Alright. For the single block version of this design, we will be starting out by building the gate itself and the white circuit. Again, there is a total of 6 blocks from your floor block to the bottom. So you're going to want 5 blocks below whatever your floor is. And then from there, you will place 2 wide blocks like this across the entire length of the gate, and for this tutorial we are only going to be making 5 simply because everything in between here is just repeated, so we don't have to make too much of the gate to get the point across. Anyway, from these 2 blocks, the gate itself is up, or starting 1 block diagonal from those, and the bottom 2, I guess, layers of pistons are sticky, and the top one is just a regular piston. Alright, back down onto this bottom block, and it can be any block you want. It doesn't even have to be a full block. You could use upside down slabs. Place a row of repeaters on 1 tick of delay, or 0 delay depending on how you look at it, and another row of redstone behind those. Now, above this row of repeaters, you are going to be placing upward facing observer blocks, like so. Now, over there I use gray wool, but it really doesn't matter what it is, I can just use white wool here. All it has to be is a full block above those observers. Now above these blocks, you are going to be putting another row of observers. And on top of these, you have to place another row of full blocks, and this would be whatever you want your floor to be, because it's visible from the surface. Anyway, next you are going to need 2 gravity blocks on top of each column of pistons. You can use gravel or sand, or I guess concrete powder now if you so desire. And from here is the actual, like, fence post, iron bars, whatever you want for the gate itself, or portcullis, whatever you want to call it. For the tutorial, let's only go 5 blocks high, just so we're not spending the entire thing placing fence posts. So once you have that in, we can go ahead and finish up the white circuit with the top part. You will need a 3 block gap, 3 more blocks, and then a final block up there. And all that is just so we can place the 3 downwards facing normal pistons easily. Like so. Now from here, you're just going to have to place a row, or 3 separate rows of a solid block. It has to be solid here, you can't get away with using slabs. With 1 block in between like this, and then on top of each of those rows of blocks, put some redstone. And that is it for the white circuit. Now let's move on to the blue. The blue circuit is actually pretty simple, where the only thing that's actually Well, actually, nothing is really too difficult. You're going to be placing blocks like this, so these all, well, only this block actually has to be full. You could use slabs for the rest of them. But make sure this block is raised up. Then you're going to have a little L shape of redstone like this going into a repeater on full delay. Then simply put another blob of redstone by this block in front of that repeater. Next, place another full block. I guess it really doesn't have to be full. Above that raised block. And yet another block over here. Then on this block, put a repeater facing into this one. And lastly, put a sticky piston facing downwards. Next, you can put in a observer, so the power output is going to go into this block when this piston raises it. You don't have to worry about putting it like actually on the piston yet, because next time it fires, it will grab it anyway. So yeah, it actually doesn't matter. And that is it for the blue circuit. Let's move on to, I suppose, the yellow circuit. Okay, the yellow circuit is actually very straightforward, and the only reason it is here is to power the very top row of pistons by shifting these observers over one block when the time's appropriate. And we're going to start off by putting in an upward facing observer so that it is one block away from the end of the, like this line of redstone like so. Then place two full blocks like this. A redstone goes on the block above the observer. Then place a a repeater facing this way on full delay. Next, put a block there. It doesn't really have to be there, it's just easy. It makes it easier to place this piston that is facing into these observers. And finish it off by putting a full block in front of this repeater next to that piston. On this side, you are going to want to put an upward facing observer on the very end in line with the piston on this side. Put a block above that, a piece of redstone above that block, and an observer facing this way, so that the output goes into this block. Next, put a waste block here to make it easier to place a piston facing back into the observer, so when this piston pushes them this way, it pushes them back that way. Even though in the actual order of it, this one first fires and then that one resets it, but that's just semantics, but yeah. Anyway, finish off the yellow circuit by putting a full block in front of that repeater next to that piston. And now let's move on to the, I suppose, T flip-flop and red circuit. Let's start by putting in the T flip-flop. Actually, first of all, remove this block we temporarily placed to easily put that piston down. We do not need that there. In fact, we cannot have it there. Anyway, for the T flip-flop, put a sticky piston right next to this very top piston in the little column of pistons facing back this way. And then on that, put a block of redstone. Now, next to this next to this block, put another solid block. I suppose it doesn't have to be solid, but yeah, whatever. And then put a put a single redstone dust on top of that block. Now from here, we are going to be building a tower of redstone on slabs. And this particular design cannot handle the delay that a torch tower introduces because of how fast the blue circuit will fire once the T flip-flop switches, so that is why we're using a tower of slabs. And the easiest way I found to make a tower of slabs with redstone on it is to make a too wide, I guess, wall of blocks next to it, and then just put your redstone down and kind of staircase up like this. And this won't take too long because we made the gate pretty short. And now that we are up here, just go over one more block. You want the redstone to be in line with the block you place on the very bottom. And then from here, put it down another block. Then put a redstone torch on top of that one. And to the side of this redstone torch, put two more blocks. Well, side and above it. On this block, put a repeater on 1 tick of delay facing outward. On this block, put a repeater on 2 ticks of delay facing inward. Then on these blocks, or on those repeaters, place 3 more blocks like so. And now put redstone on top of those 3 blocks you just placed. And that should be the red circuit completed, and you can just tear down that little wall you made to make the slab tower easier. Anyway, now let's continue on to the green circuit. Okay, what you actually do with the green circuit is largely up to your specific needs, because you can have the input come from multiple directions, where the only actual requirement is that you power this piston. I would suggest from either this block or this block, with a observer being moved by another piston, and that will give it a 1 tick pulse, which will leave the redstone block behind on one input, then grab it on the next, which causes it to be a T flip-flop. Anyway, I will be showing you how to have an input from below and then another input from above, as if you were going to have your buttons right next to the gate like this. Anyway, let's start with the one from below because it's a lot simpler. Just put a full block here, put a upwards facing sticky piston on top of that one, and finally an observer facing this way, like so. And now when you power this piston, it will push the observer up there. The observer will power this block, which will cause a 1 tick pulse to be powered, will cause the piston to be powered by a 1 tick pulse, which will cause the T flip-flop to function as a T flip-flop. Anyway, because of the way we put the yellow circuit and white circuit together, you are going to have to give the gate 1 full cycle for it to function properly. As you saw, it only opened up 2 blocks here. That is not a problem with the design, it just had to reset this observer like that. Now if we close it again, and then open it again, you can see it works as normal, and it opened 3 blocks tall. Anyway, now let's build the other input, where we are going to be having the buttons on the top. So both buttons go there. You could also have it 1 block forward. You can't push it any farther back, because there's kind of a lot of redstone there. Anyway, with those buttons in place behind this button, place another full block and a repeater like so. This looks a little odd, trust me it works. This repeater doesn't power anything, but put in an observer looking at the repeater powering over here like so, and put another full block like this with a block of redstone on it. I mean, not a block, a bit of redstone dust. And next to that block below the observer, put a downwards facing sticky piston, and put another observer below that sticky piston so the output is facing downwards, so that when you hit either of these buttons, it will power the T flip-flop and it will function. And with that, we have completed the single version of this 3-high Portcullis. I'd like to give a big thanks to Ikeelu for introducing me to the observer-based double piston extender, which allowed me to compact this design as much as I did, so be sure to check him out via the link to his channel in the description. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed and found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please do leave a like, it does indeed help the channel out quite a bit. And with that, I will see you all later. Bye-bye. For the double version of this design, we will be starting out by building the white circuit and the gate itself. The gate is centered in the redstone, which is a total width of 6 blocks, so you are going to want to space it out something like this. Not really something, exactly like this, rather. And again, there's a total of 6 blocks, including the floor down, so space that accordingly. And now once we have this, let's extend it out 5 blocks in total length, like so. And then extend the pistons like this. Next, we are going to put a row of repeaters on each side, facing into the bottom layer of pistons like this, and simply put another row of redstone behind those repeaters. From here, add another layer of sticky pistons facing upwards, and on top of that, actually it would be easier if we did this now. Put upwards facing observers on top of those repeaters like this. And then put the row of normal pistons on top of the sticky pistons. On top of these observers, put any full block. Over there I used gray wool. I'm just using white wool here because it doesn't matter. And then on top of the white wool, put another row of observers on each side. And on top of those observers, put another full block. And this block is whatever you want your floor to be, because it is visible from the surface. And now in this middle part, put some gravity-based block, which is sand, gravel, and now even concrete powder. Whichever you prefer, it really does not matter. And we need those regular pistons again, because now we are going to be building the gate itself, or the portcullis itself. And for the tutorial, we will only be building it up 5 blocks tall, simply because, again, it really doesn't matter too much. It's easy, like this certain design is very easy to just connect everything. So yeah, why build too much when we can build less? Okay, so that's 3 blocks, and then 4, and finally 5. And you can use any type of block for this, even full ones. It's really, I guess, customizable. Anyway, from the top of the gate, you are going to want to put 3 blocks down, then another 3 blocks, and then finally another block. And then looking at that block, put 3 downwards facing normal pistons like this, and just make a 2 wide row of these downwards facing regular pistons across the entire length of the gate. And that is that. And to finish off the white circuit, just put down a total of 6 rows of full blocks like this with redstone on top of them all. And now let's just go over to the other side to replicate that. Like so. I messed that up. Don't do that. Instead, do this. And then put down the redstone. And that is the white circuit finished. Let's move on to the blue. The blue circuit is the largest difference between these single and double versions of this gate, but even then, they're still not very different. Start out by putting a row of full blocks like this right next to the edge of the gate, then put 2 repeaters facing outwards like this, then simply put down some redstone to finish it. Next, put down a block of redstone, not a block, a singular dust of redstone there, then next to that, just put a full block like so. Then around this block, make a little L shape like that, and then put a repeater on 4 ticks of delay facing towards the pistons. Put 2 redstone dust like that, and then a final redstone dust there. Finally, put another full block on top of this block, and put a sticky piston facing downwards like so. And put a waste block there just to more easily place this observer, and put the observer block there. You could put it up this part, but I would rather have the rest of the redstone in before we fire the gate, because it will not open entirely properly if you do that. Now, it won't break it or anything. It will just work better if we wait to do that. Anyway, let's move on to building the yellow circuit. The yellow circuit is very straightforward. On the second redstone dust from the end, on the other side of the blue circuit, put an upwards facing observer block like that, put a full block on top of it and another one next to it, put down a dust of redstone like so, and a repeater on 4 ticks of delay. put down a waste block there, and put a normal piston facing towards the observers like that. Remove the waste block and put another full block like this, and simply mirror that on this other side. Like so. Okay, and now for this other side. You are going to put an upwards facing observer right next to the very edge piston like this. Put a full block above that. Put a a dust of redstone on top of that block. And then put an observer block so it detects this redstone like this. Now put a waste block here so that you can easily place a normal piston facing back towards the observer line like so, and finish it off by putting another full block in front of that observer's output. And then simply repeat the same thing over here. Like so. Actually put this piston down first just because it's a little bit easier. Put down the observer and then full block. Okay, now let's move on to the T flip-flop and red circuits. Start off by putting a sticky piston facing outwards right on this top piston there. And from there put down a actual block of redstone, this time not a redstone dust, on that sticky piston. Next put a repeater on 1 tick of delay, powering that piston. Don't put a block there because then you'll interfere with this piston. So yeah. And then the red circuit starts by putting down a full block there. It could be a half slab, it doesn't matter, just so that we can have redstone on that block. Now we are going to be building a tower of slabs with redstone on them. And we have to actually use a slab tower in this case, because the blue circuit itself is too fast to handle the delay of pistons retracting if they were powered by a torch tower. So anyway, the easiest way I've found to make a slab tower is by just building a 2-block wide wall where you're going to be putting it. Then from this redstone put a singular slab like so behind this piston, and then start the actual tower. And as you go up, just be placing redstone as you kind of staircase your way up the, I guess, slab tower, like so. And once you get up to here, it might be easier to visualize where stuff goes if you put the very start blocks, which are going to be just on the very end of this bottom row of blocks. And now we can see that we actually should go up 1 more block before we actually, like, do stuff, I suppose. And that is actually wrong. We want it to be 1 lower, so we were right. And that is why we did that, so we can more easily visualize it. Ooh, talking. Anyway, from here, just continue and complete the redstone line. And now we need some redstone torches. Put a redstone torch on top of that red block. Then from there, put 2 more blocks around it like so. On the top of this block, we are going to be putting a repeater on 2 ticks of delay, and on this block, put a repeater on 1 tick of delay. And then place 3 more blocks on top of those, like so, and simply finish it by putting 3 more blocks of, redstone dust on top of those blocks. And then repeat the same exact thing over here, and let's just do that quickly. Oh, don't make sure that's on 1 tick of delay, or else everything will break. Actually, it probably would still work, but it won't be as fast. So it might actually break. Anyway, that should be the red circuit completed. Finish it off by just removing the temporary blocks we used as scaffolding to more easily make the slab tower. And now let's continue on to the green circuit. The green circuit itself is largely up to where you want the gate to be powered from. I will be showing how to power it both from below and if you want the buttons to be directly next to the gate on the surface. So first of all, you are generally going to want to power this piston from this block, and you're going to do that by moving an observer block using another piston. This will move the observer, and then when the observer is then like finished moving, it will send out a single tick pulse, which will cause this piston to leave behind the redstone block, causing it to act like a T flip-flop. And I just kind of did it right there. This is the bottom version to power it from below, and this is more for like larger buildings where you want, I guess, all your redstone to be more underground instead of just in a singular cell, I suppose. Or where, like, you could have the input coming from not right there. Anyway, so that's pretty simple, and if we put a button on it and power it, on the first try, it will only open it up 2 blocks. This isn't a problem with the gate, it's just the way we made it, where it has to reset these observer blocks on the first iteration. So if we press it again, it will properly close, and if we press it yet again, it will then properly open now that the observer blocks are off to this side to start with. Anyway, for the buttons on the top, you are going to want to put blocks here and here, and then your buttons will just go on that. You can have them more out if you, like out to here if you want the edge of the gate to be covered. And then you'll just have to put one more block or one more dust of redstone on either side. Anyway, over here behind this one, make sure you use a slab to avoid bud powering this piston. That is very important. Then you can just put a block of redstone there. Not a block, a dust of redstone. I keep saying that today. I don't know what's up. Anyway, put a block next to that slab and put a repeater there, another full block in front of that repeater, and then on this side put a full block there and another redstone dust behind this block so that when you press both buttons it will power this one block of, or this one dust of redstone. Wow. Anyway, now that we're back down here, build out a little waste block like that and put a sticky piston facing this way there. Now you're going to have to finagle your way back over this way so you can put an observer so that the output is facing this way, so that when this piston gets powered, it will push this observer into that block and power the like T flip-flop piston. And to finish the green cert off, just put 2 more full blocks like this, and then put 2 more redstone on top of that. Like so. Now if we just press these buttons, the gate should function properly. This piston does some funky stuff because of bud power, but it works, so not really a problem. And if we just test out this side, we will see that it does indeed function properly. And with that, that is the double version of my 3 high portcullis design tutorial done. I'd like to give a big thanks to Ikeelu for introducing me to the observer-based double piston extender, which allowed me to compact this design as much as I did, so be sure to check him out via the link to his channel in the description. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed and found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please do leave a like. It does indeed help the channel out quite a bit. And with that, I will see you all later. Bye-bye.